All right, here we go. What up, Ricky? How are you, man?
What's up, Elliot, man? Long time no see.
I know, man. I know you. I always say you're the nicest person that I ever competed against. I don't even know if you remember. So you were up there too. We all were up at the ADCC trials in Canada.
No, Canada. No, you're right. Yep. Canada. Yeah.
And I had lost that weekend. I think we both lost, right? Like in our weight divisions at some point. And Brandon Vera heel hooked me. And then I was like, and then the next weekend or 2 weeks later was a grappler's quest, right? You know? So, and I can remember having this thought with you. You and I were having a match and it was 2-2 at the time. And you caught me in the fucking guillotine, the Peruvian strangle. And I was like,
yeah, but I don't think I caught you.
No, I know, but I was in it. And I was just like, man, you know what? I'm not tapping 2 weeks in a row. Fuck this noise. I was like, I'm either going to get out or go to sleep. It's one or the other. And man, I barely got out, right? I barely got out. And like, you know, when you're almost asleep though, and you're all like fucked up, like, you know, a little bit. And like, you looked at me, you're like, you all right, dude? I was like, yeah, man, I'm good. I could barely see you, you know? So you were super nice to me. You ended up winning, you know, but I was like,
did you bring your dog?
No, that was somebody else. I couldn't bring my dog. My dog was in Colorado.
No. To that match. Did you bring a dog to that match? I remember somebody bringing a dog.
No, I couldn't have.
It was a grappler's quest, right?
Yeah, it was Bayonne. Yeah.
Yeah, Bayonne, New Jersey. Oh my God, man. How long ago was that? That was like 2004. It had to be 2004 because that was when the trials was.
Yeah, 04, 05, something like that. You know?
04, I think.
Yeah. So it was a while. Yeah, you know.
Those are the best tournaments, man.
Dude, Brian Simmons ran the best tournament back in the day. Yeah. I haven't been to one in ages. I mean, are there still? I don't know if they're still on.
We keep touch here and there. I forget the last time we actually spoke on the phone, but he's doing well. But he's, you know, I think he stopped. I forget what the last Grappler's Quest was. I know he had talks of bringing it back.
Right.
And I mean, back in the late 90s or the early 90s when we started, I remember him coming to Maxercise. It was like almost, I think it was the first time I ever was really introduced to him. And he came up, we're all training. And that's when he told us about this tournament he has going on. And I was like, oh man, I hated competition. I never liked competition. I just forced myself to do it. I hated it.
Yeah.
I never got into like, the martial arts or anything specifically for competition. I boxed early before jiu-jitsu when I was young. Never wanted to be a boxer. Only wanted to do it for street self-defense. And then jiu-jitsu came along. Obviously, Phil kicked me in my butt and got me in there. And that was the idea. But, you know, at Maxercise, because it was the beginning of the jiu-jitsu growth, you know, where we were, he was very adamant about us, you know, especially Relson. They were like, no, you got to go up and do the competition. I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, Phil, do we really have to do this? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, all right. Because Relson, you remember Relson, I don't know if you ever been to the Gracie Worlds in Ohio.
No, nope.
That was
his.
It was his. So it was his tournament. I don't know if he started or if he took it over. I forget. But Relson basically called us like, you're fighting. I was like, nah, okay. All right, I got to go in this tournament. I had to drive all the way to Ohio and then compete. And I'm like, man, it's like, you know, what I loved about it, and I think you would agree, what I loved about it was, you know, and I say this all the time, was traveling with all of our buddies, piling up in a hotel with all our buddies, you know, bumping into like guys like you from other teams and bullshitting. And that was, you know, that was priceless. You couldn't take that away.
We have this connection, right? Because it was hard to it's not like today it's much easier to compete, right?
Yeah.
Like you could find something every month, every weekend probably, right? If you're on a coast, you probably don't even have to go anywhere. Where back in the day, like you had to work to get to a tournament.
Oh yeah.
You know? So like if you got to a tournament and you knew, like it was like a chance for everyone in the scene to like hang out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, when you went to the Abu Dhabis, we had to be picked. The trials.
Yeah.
You had to be picked to go out to the trials.
The trials. Yep. You couldn't just go. You couldn't just enter your name and go to the trials.
Right. And that particular year, was one of my best years because 2004 was brown belt, and I competed in like 14. That's when I won the Pan Ams. And I had like 14. So my name was, you know, out there, I guess, in competition wise. So I got lucky. in the well, not lucky. I worked my ass off, but that was the reason why we think we got picked to go out there.
Right.
And that was, do you remember that ride through the mountain?
Dude. Whose fucking idea?
I don't know.
Like it was like a 5-hour ride from Vancouver.
Yeah. So in a van, and it was snowing. We were going through mountains.
Dude.
I thought it was like, I grew up in South Philly, so I thought it was a hit. I was like, oh, this is definitely something else. I was like,
it kind of felt like that though. Right. And then when you showed up, the place where we weighed in and cut weight and stuff, it was like, no, this can't be right.
Oh yeah. It was a ring in there. Some people slept on the mats.
Yeah. It was craziness.
Yeah. Now they get pampered. These guys are divas today.
Yeah. Dude, do you remember? Okay. Do you remember? Remember there was a tournament the next day, right? Like where people, and that dude that none of us knew slammed Jeff Glover. And then like he was Canadian, like Glover had him in a triangle and there was no slamming, and he picked him up and slammed him. And then dude, the stands just emptied because nobody was there. It was all just fighters. Right. And like everyone was Jeff Glover's homie. Right. And we were like, yo, motherfucker. And he was like, whoa. Like they like a fight almost erupted. It
would be like a melee in Canada.
Yeah, man.
Jeff Glover was just at my place right before all this happened.
Oh, nice. How's he doing?
He's doing awesome. He was doing like a traveling, seminar thing for his deep half, and Pete the Greek was with him. So we supported him as he was coming through. I always loved seeing him. I haven't seen him since, I don't even know last time I was on the West Coast or whatever. So he stopped by. He had a good showing at my, spot in our main headquarters here.
Right.
And he told awesome stuff. I mean, he's literally the guy who introduced me to the deep half. I remember it was at a tournament and he showed me, and it's funny that he did like the basics in the seminar that he did. It was like the same stuff that he showed. But he's doing well.
Good. Yeah. I think I saw him at Tyrone Glover's wedding years ago. Like Tyrone moved out to Colorado.
Toe-hold Tyrone?
Yeah, toe-hold Tyrone. Yep.
Toe-hold Tyrone. He was the nicest guy, not me.
Dude. Yeah.
He was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
his toe-hold one guy, I've told the story before. I was in Brazil and I woke my wife up in the middle of the night because I lost to this guy one night at the Worlds, and he was my second fight in my weight division the next day, and he was just spider guard. Like he swept me to my shoulder and got an advantage, and then that was it. Held my sleeves. I was like, motherfucker. So I was up all night thinking about what I was going to do, and I woke up Renee, and it's funny because you called it toe with Tyrone. I was like, baby, it's 3 a.m. I'm like, yo, baby, I know what I'm going to do. She's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to do the T-Money footlock. Right. Like, and she's like, what the fuck is the T-Money footlock? And why are you telling me this at 3 a.m?
He's like, you're going to see. He was good. Him and Rick McCauley, man.
Yeah.
Rick McCauley, as big as he was amazing to train with because he didn't look like he can move the way he did.
He could bend too, right?
Oh yeah. And he's literally the one, like all the footlocks and the heel hooks. Back when we were all competing, because I would travel with him, Tim Carpenter, a couple other guys, and we would travel. And it would basically be, I remember at the 2004 Pan Ams, we all made it to the finals. Like there was like it was like clearing out the whole, in California stadium.
That's the year that Ricky and I fought in the finals, I think. He and I fought in the finals. Yeah, 2004. Brown. That was
that was the next year. Because I was brown.
Yeah, 5. 5 is when I fought Ricky in the finals.
Yeah, because I was a brown belt, and then after the Pan Ams and I think a couple other things, that 2004. I think it was December, so it was almost 2005. That's when I got my black belt.
Got it.
Because I know after I won that, so we all went to the finals in 2004. I think Rick McCauley was a purple belt then.
Right.
I believe so. Him and Sean Smith. I don't know if you remember Sean.
Yeah, I remember Sean. He did Infusionsoft for us for a while. He went all tech set, right?
Yeah.
So I think 04 was the year I had my torn ACL, and I didn't compete that year. Yes.
How many times did you do that?
Once. You had a bad one too, right?
I had the PCL. I just did it again last March. It's funny. This March we're on quarantine. Last March I was in quarantine. For what? Because the PCL, and they do it a little different from when I did it in 2005.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to put my foot on the ground for a month. I couldn't bend it. I couldn't do anything. It's a little different than the ACL, but they're right behind each other. Cruciated ligaments. They're like one's behind, but the PCLs are thicker.
Posterior, anterior, same, right? Like.
Yep. So, yep. Same kind.
Yep. I think that the ACL is more common, right? And that's why you hear about it more.
Yeah. But if you ever remember how I walk, I walk like duck footed. So I was talking to the doctor. I said, well, I never torn my ACL, knock on wood, but why am I so prone to the PCL? And I mentioned, I said, could it be because I'm like duck footed? I was born with my feet this way. And he goes, possibly, because the pressure that I obtained from having my leg like that, it's just more susceptible. But all my freak accidents.
How'd you do this one?
I did this one doing a bow and arrow choke.
You were choking the other person?
Yeah. But the way my leg was, I put my foot, and I don't even know why I should get my black belt taken away, because I had it and I put my leg in front of his face and it was just bent. And then after we were done, I think he leaned and you just hear my leg because it was in a weird angle. It was a weird angle, but not like I wasn't contorted in a way that you would go.
And he had already tapped, like you were just letting go?
Yeah, you were already, And then I think the weight of him, it happened so fast and it popped and I couldn't like alleviate the pressure. And it's always when I relax my body, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done. And then something happens. And I'm like, what the? But I tore the cadaver ligament they put in 14 years ago. So I basically borrowed somebody's car and I crashed it 14 years ago. That's how I look at it.
Oh, fuck. All right, man, let's get into it a little bit. You mentioned your lineage with Relson, right? Like you are direct Relson Gracie.
Yeah.
So, and I know I talked to Phil about like his perspective of that, but where does your story fit in? Like you said, Phil beat you up, right? And then, he kicked you, and then it got you started. So how did it get started?
Yeah. I mean, I came from boxing background and Phil was introduced to the jiu-jitsu before I was. So when I was in grade school, he was already doing jiu-jitsu. Okay. And I was like here and there. I had jiu-jitsu. I was one of them guys who just wore the jiu-jitsu shirts. So you'll see me in like my grade school pictures were great, but I didn't really train. So Phil, I always tell Phil that I started when I was, 16, but he looks at me and goes, no, you knew about it before, but I didn't really like take it seriously until 16 years old. That was like the point of where I got it. But Relson was the Maxercise, affiliate. He was the affiliation. So if you know the background, everybody on all the Gracies ended up at the Gracie Academy in Torrance at one point. And then Steve Maxwell was a part of
all the Helio side, right? So you're saying Hickson, Relson, Hoyce, Horian,
and Holker too. I think.
And Holker.
And
right.
Holker there. Yeah.
And Hoyler stayed in Brazil for a while, right? Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
he's got Humaita in Brazil. So okay,
he did come. He came there. I think right. Everybody visited through it. Like Phil, you see like pictures of Phil. Phil's got amazing pictures. I don't know why he doesn't put them up. I mean, he's trained with like John Malau, Valigi, like people. Everybody and anybody went through there because that was
the only place.
At one point in the '80s, late '80s, that was the only place. And people got their their foot in the door through there. But so Relson wound up being the representative for the Gracie Academy when we were with the Gracie Academy for Maxercise. So he was always, Max. And I liked it because me coming from why I walked into the door was for like street self-defense. And if you look at any Gracie, Relson is the street guy. He's big on, the street self-defense. He's constantly evolving, which I liked, If you're ever in a room with a bunch of Gracies, they're bickering Portuguese. One will show. We were at the Gracie Academy. We were at the Gracie Academy. Hoyce would show me a move. Horian would Portuguese yelling them because they all have their little way. Mm-hmm. But I know once Elio came in the room, I was like, I'm gonna listen to that guy. I'm not gonna argue with that guy. Like me and Phil would be like, who do we listen to? And I was like, oh, it's confusing. But it was great being in that atmosphere because it was harmless. It was harmless arguing.
Sure.
But
like you and Phil probably do right now, man. It's like this way a little bit. Yeah. We all still do it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We play around. But coming from that background, and Relson was very adamant about. He was very serious, as jokingly as he is. Like I was just saying the other day to Phil, we were talking about when you finally get your black belt. depending on how you receive your stripes, like some people do the IBJJF way. We do the Relson Gracie way, which is what Relson does. And, that's his way of doing it. That's my instructor. So I don't argue, some people like,
I don't know that way, I guess.
Well, it's not even a way. I mean, basically, there's a video out. I can send it to you. I mean, Elio is like, there's no time when you get a stripe. If you feel like somebody deserves a degree, that's when he did it. And then if you feel like he didn't get it. Like we still get tested. So the last time that Relson was here was a year ago, 2 years ago. Had to be over a year ago because it was a year ago it was in this room. This is the third floor of my house, my office. Okay. He came right to our house, tested us for like 3 hours in the self-defense. You have to know that. I don't think any other black belt, I think they just received their degree once a couple years or whatever the year is. I don't remember the IBJJF, like everything. So
yeah, we definitely followed the IBJJF and has nothing to do with anything other than time.
Right. So that's the difference, I think. I think it's the time. So it could be seen that you get your degrees too early, or it could be seen that you don't ever get your degrees. So
I never understood that because I didn't understand that Helio had a way, because I can remember Huron and Henner they got their black belts at a tournament that I was at, their dad's tournament, Horian's tournament. And that's the one where it was the first one he did where the winners got to go to Brazil and live at Helio's house. Like 2 months later, 2 months later, we all went on this trip and they got their black belts that day. And then when we showed up to Helio's house and we all put our gis and stuff on, they had like 3 stripes on their black belts already.
Oh yeah. I don't know.
I was like, how's that possible? It's been like 3 months.
That's intense. That's intense training, I guess.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Mine never happened that fast.
Right. No, I get it. Maybe it was 2 stripes, but still there was something on there,
Yeah. Relson has he'll have you're up for a stripe. He'll do the year thing. But if you don't know that self-defense, and he yells at us, I mean, he's like family. I mean, he's been around since I was a kid. So we've hung out. He comes stays at our house. He bullshits. But like any other family, it's like when he gets out of order, he's just like, "Hey, what are you doing?" When I get out of order, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" We're bickering, But it's all fun. But when it comes to he puts that gi on, and you're doing that self-defense, it's like your dad's over you. You get smacked sometimes. Oh yeah, I'm not kidding.
Why were you so big on the self-defense? What do you think took it that route for you?
I mean, if you've listened to any of my other interviews, and I always start off with when I was a younger kid, I got in a lot of fights as a kid in the street, and I was picked on, but I didn't know I had a fight back then. So I didn't know what I had. So even if I fought back, I was getting my ass kicked because you're getting jumped by 2 or 3 guys. It was never fair. The guy was either big or strong, whatever. I started boxing and realizing I had, good hands. So then that was the start of, okay, I can, start giving back a little bit. And it was only until I got involved seriously in jiu-jitsu as I learned how to tame that side of me. So I think in any kind of journey. So
when you say tame, you were trying to find fights sometimes.
No, never trying to find fights. Never did that. But you couldn't say 2 words. If I thought you were trying to get over on me or bully me, I didn't even waste time. Bah, 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 bah. It wasn't and it might look like you never want to feel, once you get picked on, once you get put in a position like that, no matter if it's physical or mental or in business, whatever, you don't ever want to feel like that again. Right. I remember to today, I don't want to feel like that. So I think any aspect of my life and how I deal with people, I'll always have that. If I feel like someone, and then when I obtained the skills that I did and I started getting a reputation like I did, I would help people out who were lower than me or, got picked on. I never liked it. So you weren't
picking on people, but your trigger was real short. If you felt that was coming down the pipeline, you didn't wait for it.
No, yeah, I didn't. And then that was something I had to control because that's not right either. And I'm still working on it. Still working on it because there's I'm way better than I used to be.
Right.
And jiu-jitsu helped guide me through that because, you get in there with one intention. People walk through the door, all for different reasons. Everybody has a story for walking into the door. And when they were afraid, they were accosted, they had something happen to them, they just want to learn self-defense, or they want to learn sport because of sport, or they want to learn whatever it is, everybody has an idea. But I feel like anybody who walks in the gym that has one thing in mind, it winds up being so much more because you know more than I do, jiu-jitsu, the lifestyle is addicting. It's not just walking on the mat and learning, oh, we're doing cool. The whole lifestyle of putting your gi on, meeting people who are from all walks of life, which I love, meeting people and sharing that bond in something that we all share, like this jiu-jitsu. So that's the common bond right there. And then you form these friendships and these that you would never, ever form, I don't think, anywhere else. I don't think anywhere else. I'd probably never meet you. I would never, hang out with half the people that I'm hanging out with. My dentist does jiu-jitsu. He's a black belt. Like I don't talk to people who don't do jiu-jitsu.
I don't know. I mean, I have a couple neighbors that I like, but outside of that, nothing.
But they're not coming over for dinner.
No.
So it's like, it's stuff like that that's addicting. And that's why in like a crisis like this, like what we're having today, this is a little different if you run your business the way we do, which is like everybody's family oriented. We all will take in consideration what everybody's going through differently. It's just, this is where people come together, even different gyms, man. Somebody dies or somebody catches disease or somebody gets cancer. We just had one of the local guys who started up in a gym, not from around, in the Northeast here in Philadelphia area. He got cancer. What do? All the schools came together. We don't hold grudges. We don't do it. No, that's not what this is about. The lifestyle. We all get together. We find a way to help back and help our own. And we even go far and beyond. If there was like a family member that doesn't even do, it's just we help out. That's what I love about jiu-jitsu. We can bicker all you want. You got 2 points. I won that fight. We do that's like bickering at the dinner table, right? But when it comes down to it, I think there's a huge, strong bond in jiu-jitsu. I think
the community is seeing that now, right? I think it's being shown.
I think it's being tested, and I just recently put a video on my Instagram, the challenge matches that Phil and I had. Mm-hmm. We had the Gracie challenge matches. That used to be every week. We didn't have cameras like we do now, but that used to be. I used to sit and exercise, and it wasn't always blood. It wasn't like punching anything. It was like simply, guy comes in off his lunch break, because we're in the middle of Center City. He starts answering questions. I'm the only guy there because it's in between classes. And the confusion got so the last thing it said is like, all right, just come on the mat. Let's go. Right. And the guy half suit and something like that. And he's like I was like, you do whatever you want. I'm just going to, and that's the way that we explained jiu-jitsu back then, because everybody was like, what do you do?
That was the intro class.
Yeah, pretty much. It was the intro class. And then it's more sophisticated now, and it's more obviously well known because of UFC and stuff like that. But I think it's still misconstrued because of those things. Because if you just watch MMA, then you're not really going to get a gist of like, oh, what do you do, UFC? Like, what do you train UFC? You hear that a million times. It's like, you got to come in and check it out. They're like, oh, man, I don't want to do that. It's not like that. So there's something for everybody when they walk in. If you have the type of studio like we do, first and foremost, we're self-defense. We teach self-defense. We want to teach jiu-jitsu. Then, we also deal with the people who want to do the competitive, gi tournaments. And then now you have the no time limit. We offer everything, and we like to give everything. And then also the MMA. But with the MMA, we have a very elite MMA crew because I don't want to deal with, what comes with that, because sometimes if you don't, and I guess this is with jiu-jitsu, if you as the instructor and as the head guy don't tame that sort of income in your place, it can be a cancer.
It's poison. Yeah, I mean, I have trust me. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying here. I have the Elevation Fight Team, right? I'm the head coach, and we have, it's big.
Yeah. So you have a responsibility.
But every single one of those guys knows that we are not a fight school.
Yeah.
Right. This is not a fight school. And this is, I'm going to make this about you the best that I can make this about you. But understand, I will never risk Easton and what our core values and what jiu-jitsu means to us for anything.
Right. And so you make all your MMA guys wear the gi?
Yeah, they all come in and take gi classes.
Good. See, that's the thing with me, and that kind of.
Or they have, right? Like they.
Well, they have to.
I don't force. My guys do. I don't coach every guy personally.
Yeah.
Right. We set it up a little differently because the team is large, right? and I don't want to be traveling every weekend. Right. So I have my guys. Right. And my guys, yes, they definitely wear the gi.
So mine's a little different because that's not how, like, so I know I have other schools around here and they take, you know, whatever MMA guys, they let them train for nothing and then they take a piece of their purse. We don't do that. I don't take any money from my MMA guys. I'm strictly there to help them out. And in return, I train with them. Like, I'm 41 years old now. So I didn't hit that.
Still getting hit?
I don't, yeah, but I'm training, but I don't ever get pounded.
Okay.
I'm broken up. But it's not like it's very fair in there. I mean, look, we get our bangs. I got hurt more in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Than I do in doing there.
Dude,
like I said, I boxed before.
I've had so I've only trained like a handful of times this year because I've had a concussion since January, which but it was from jiu-jitsu. It was the worst concussion I've ever had in my fucking life, dude. 3.5 months.
Did you guys collide heads or?
No, I baby boloed and I was behind him, you know, but it was no gi. So as I was sitting up to get the back better, he like high legged and spun around and he spin wheel kicked me in the head.
Oh my God.
It was, it sucked. What's that?
The concussions are bad.
Yeah, dude. And I think I just had so many that,
I'm sure I had. I know I had. I just never checked out.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was too bad. I had to get help from a doctor, you know?
Yeah.
My eyes were all, huh?
Is your equilibrium all?
Yeah, that's what it is. My eyes were all fucked up. Like sometimes I could wake up in the middle of the night and like my shit would be crisscrossed.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, fuck. You know, you're like, oh, what is going on here? You know? So like, yeah, man.
You feel like you're in a match when you wake up. You're like, where am I going?
Yeah, except you're not, right? Like, and then you can't cognitively function right. So then you don't process right. And it was a mess.
Yeah, it's definitely a way of training too as you get older. I mean, I agree. Like I used to do 2-a-days. I used to get crazy. I used to, but I'm not competing anymore. I'm not but I'm still in competition shape. Like my whole thing is I need to know when I walk out that door, I can go for an hour, but I'm sick of my head. That's just the way I think. But I'm
the same way.
And I overdo it sometimes. My worst thing is like some people's problem is getting off the couch and going. My problem is once I go, I need like Forrest Gump, when he has the sign says stop. I need somebody like that, this whole sign up, because sometimes I overdo it, which is, just as harmful. You can be just as harmful. That's how usually I got my injuries, any kind of like major injury. I was fatigued. I wasn't thinking right,
Yeah. So, I still like to go to war with the 20-year-olds and and that can be that's how it happens sometimes. Right.
Yeah. They're not getting out with us anytime soon, though.
Nah, man. I think they're iGen now, right? I think millennials stopped already. I think the 20-year-olds is the internet generation.
Oh, what are they called? iNets?
iGen. It's the generation that never grew up without the internet. 1995.
Yeah, I think we're the last ones that know what it is not to have the internet and to have the internet.
No, millennials do.
Millennials are? Yeah,
they're 80. Millennial starts 83, so they didn't have no internet till 95. Right? So millennials are.
Okay.
And I think the problem, this is where everyone fucks it up, man. I think that most people, when they say millennials, they don't have a problem with millennials. They have a problem with iGen. They have a problem with the 23, 24-year-olds. Mm-hmm. I have zero issues with millennials. They my schools are almost all of my employees are millennials. And they work great. They work hard. They work diligently. They get everything done on time. iGen's a little different.
iGens. So I got to hate iGens now. Okay, let me write that down.
iGens. Yeah, it's not millennials, bro. It's not. Millennials do all right. But it's the generation that didn't grow up without the internet. The interesting thing about those motherfuckers, though, bro, is the one. I do have one of my. She's my top competitive student probably in jiu-jitsu. Bro, she can learn at the dumbest pace.
Really?
At everything, and especially if you tell her to find it on the internet. Like she knows how to Google better than I can Google. Like how to Google is a skill.
Well, they're doing it as a baby. Like I have a 3.5-year-old. He does this with the phone. He's like, dude, how the hell? I mean, because they mimic, they see, and that's the critical period. They're picking it up, so they're absorbing stuff.
My kids call it search it up. Dad, search it up. You know, I'm like, what? So, did you? I know Phil went out to the Gracie Academy for a while. Did you move out to California too and live out there?
Yep.
Or
Yep, he went out there first for a few years, and then like you had to be accepted to that program. You couldn't.
Right.
So I did whatever I had to do at match size. I cleaned the toilets, I cleaned the mats, I taught all the kids classes. You had to like earn your spot. So I did everything. I proved to them, and that was nothing about balance. Like when I was going over before, when you receive like a black belt, you're not only like a black belt on the mat, you have to be a black belt off the mat. So it was kind of like Elio theory where, and we held the same thing in exercise. Like it didn't matter how good I was, how many people I was tapping. You get accepted and get perks when you show that you can handle both outside and in the gym equally, in balance. So
important.
Yeah, and I got the call. It was 1998. Yep, 1998. Phil and I, because he was in between. Now remember, he went out for 6 months, came back, like he was since 1988 was doing stuff. He read books, he had the thing coming, and he was always doing some shit. So 98, we flew out there. Beginning of 98, we flew out there. I remember we stayed with a kid, AJ. He was one of our students at Maxercise, and he lived out in Palos Verdes. And Palos Verdes is like multi-billionaires. Like his dad was like in the Air Force or something. So I didn't know what I was walking at. Like I'm from Philly. So if I see a palm tree, I'm like, oh, I'm in a good neighborhood. In Philly, when you're in a bad neighborhood because, the cats are messed up. The pigeons have bubble feet. Everything's messed up. In California, you don't know. We were in Inglewood and I didn't even know what the hell was going on. But it was great because
Denver's like that too, man.
Yeah. So we stayed with him the first month in Palos Verdes, and he allowed us to, because we took care of him because he was going to Villanova here. So his dad was super cool. And then we found a place not too far from the Gracie Academy. And it was on, I remember, Anza Avenue. Oh my God, I can't believe that just popped in my head. It was Anza Avenue. And we stayed in, it was like, looked like Melrose Place. Like it had a pool. Like to us, we were like, dude, we're rich. We're coming from South Philly, we have no money. But like around there, they're like, nah, you're okay. Everybody has the pool here. It wasn't like ghetto. Like I was used to that.
Sure.
But it was great. It was a great experience. I love the people around there. And then the atmosphere of meeting everybody in the program was pretty fun.
Who else was in the program with you?
Man, it was me, Phil, Tony Pazinski was out there for a little bit. Or he was either out there before, I think he was there before me. Henner, Huron, obviously they were in the program. John Burke, I don't know if you know John Burke.
Yep.
Eric Myers, John Crouch.
Yeah, I still talk to Crouch.
There. Yeah.
So Mark Lehman must have been there at the same time then too.
So Mark Lehman wasn't there when I went, but Phil was there with Mark Lehman when he was in his ventures before I got there. In 98, Mark wasn't there. Mark was in California. I knew Mark from before that. But, and then Renato. Remember Renato Freitas?
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah. He would choke everybody with the henna choke. Yeah, the henna choke. Boom. And there was a few other guys. Art was out there. Of course, the Gracies who were out there were the kids. The daughters were out there. Huron, Horian, Hoyce, and Kaiki. Kaiki was there.
Oh, okay.
And you know what?
That's right. They were together at first, right? Yes.
Yep. So Kaiki was out there, and Kaiki taught me a lot. I learned a lot from him.
That's what everyone says about that guy, is that like everyone at the Gracie Academy at that time, that he was a really good teacher.
He was a good teacher. He was a competitor. We would sit in his apartment. He showed me like old footage of him, his guard pass and everything. He was a strong kid. And then his two kids were the one kid, Pedro was there. That's his son. But he was a kid. We used to steal him. Kaiki used to get mad at me because I used to steal him and we used to go out to the clubs. We go to Hermosa Beach.
Who was Kaiki's good student? Mike something.
Mike Rose.
He's
in Chicago. And Mike Rose was there. He was tough.
He's in Chicago now.
I believe so. Yeah.
Was he doing jiu-jitsu or not?
I think so. He went and like, he's a real spiritual guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he got a little weird for a minute.
Yeah, he went to like the rainforest doing peyote and came back and I don't know what, I couldn't even understand. But he's always a great dude.
Nice guy. Yeah, super nice guy. Looked very intimidating, right?
He looked like didn't look intimidating. He didn't look as good as he was.
Yeah, that's
like
what.
I would look like, you know how you kind of like you look people up and down. We don't mean to do it, but you do it.
You do it.
It's natural. So I would always see him like, let me train with this guy. And man, he was like heavy legs, he had flexibility. It was crazy. Bastard. He had everything I wanted. And more.
So, you know, you and Phil, and now you guys have your own schools, right? Like, so, you know, the long story, what have you taken from that from the old school, right? And look, I think this is what the best schools do, right? Is you have to innovate. You can't just be doing it like they did in the 1990s. If you're right. So you have to take some things that you like and then implement some new stuff. What has that process been? What have you guys done with that?
I mean, mainly look, jiu-jitsu evolves, of course, because, you know, especially today with the internet, different moves are being presented. If different moves and positions are being presented, you got to follow and know the counters and everything. So that's always going to evolve.
Not everyone's doing that though, man.
I know. And we're in between because we're with like Relson Gracie is very traditional, but he does evolve. Like I do and I have proof that, you know, self-defense evolves because I had a student. I don't know if you ever saw my iPhone defense. I call it iPhone defense or iPhone or smartphone. People don't have iPhones, but I did this defense because I had a student who got shot in the shoulder. He's still living. And I asked him, I said, what the hell happened? He goes, the guy was stealing our iPhones. And at the time, and probably still, they were calling it apple picking. So people were coming out of cars, taking people's iPhones and stealing them. And people were sticking you up for iPhone. I'm like, for an iPhone? Meanwhile, they can get $1,000 or more overseas if they sell them. That's why they were stealing them. So I came up with an iPhone defense. So when I came up with that, I was like, anytime I explain, or if I go to a seminar and explain, I said, look, you can't just take one seminar and think that you're okay. Because you know how I get guys and girls are always like, I took a self-defense class before. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. You have to keep up with it because things constantly evolve. In other words, there wasn't iPhones 10 years ago. There wasn't even smartphones. So the simple fact and the simple threat of that didn't exist. Other kinds of threats like that did. But you like looking down at your phone, because people were going, the iPhone defense is basically this. They would come over because I asked how they're doing. I was looking it up. They would ask what time it is. And then people normally do this. They dick their head and they're like, oh, it's because almost everybody uses their phone now for the time. And almost everybody has their phone in their hand, even when they're walking. They're like this. Like, what time is it? Well, you take your peripheral defense away. And as soon as they go, pop, they will get hit and taken. So I developed, you know, just a simple, and it was just simple. And it was just keeping your hands up. If you ask me what time it is, I hold it up while I'm looking at you. So my peripheral's not off. And if you go to throw the punch, boom, I'm in for a catch. So it was a simple, the punch grab.
It's just the punch defense.
Right. But the approach changed. Why? Because we added another element to it, which is the iPhone. So, you know, people don't look that far into it. So like little things like that. But I use that as an excuse. It's kind of like a funny way of saying, hey, you guys got to keep up. You never know what's going to come. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll come for continuing classes and stuff like that. But yeah, you're right. That like schools today, they're not doing the old school stuff or either you're too old school, you're not into the new stuff, which you have to if you have a business and you want to cater to everyone. So we have so many walks of life that come in from all different ages. We have college students, this and that. It seems like the younger guys are a lot into the tournaments, the no time limit, the stuff like that, which is fine. And, you know, if that's the flavor of the week, that's the flavor of the week. And, you know, we have other people who are maybe sometimes the older guys are like, I just want to do self-defense. I just want to roll. You know, Phil and I do a good job of not separating these people, but obliging everybody. Because personally, I like it all. I like to train it all. Like I like to come in. I love the gi. I love the no gi. You want to throw down, boom. I like street stuff. You know, I love it all. But I think it's mandatory. I think it should be mandatory for everybody to do the self-defense. And self-defense can be like the Gracie self-defense. And then Phil and I, we go even further and beyond because I had my experience. I literally, when I was learning the Gracie self-defense, I was simultaneously working at nightclubs, and nobody knew what jiu-jitsu was back then. I was like 16, 17 years old when I worked at nightclubs. So I was literally practicing my self-defense on any kind of like engagement that I had. I can't even tell you. I mean, I'm sure there's some that I didn't use, but I used the majority of them. Headlocks, escapes, stuff like that. I would have my my guys who worked with me, because we would have boring nights. I was like, yo, throughout the night, if you think you can sneak up on me and grab me, I said, do it. It could be any part of the night from 7 o'clock to 3 in the morning. So we would play games in the nightclub. So they would come grab me. I'm telling you, like, if you don't practice, people are like, oh, I've seen that before. Like, how many times have you seen the self-defense stuff? Like, you probably watch it like, oh, I've seen that one before. It's the same way people take different moves. Like, oh, I saw that armbar before. I'm like, you saw the armbar. Did you feel the armbar? Did you get surprised with the armbar? Did you, same thing with attack. I'm like, oh, somebody grabs me, I'm go like that. It's very different when you're talking to somebody grabs you, and then where your mind goes. So and it's interesting because I tell you about the time that, I got bullied or whatever and stuff like that. And then it's funny that I went into different jobs. Like, I was always security. I was, now I'm in this. I was always into something like protection, But the nightclub definitely prepared me for, I don't know if you ever got in the street or if you ever got startled in the street.
I used to work in a bar. So yeah, I worked in a nightclub.
Yeah. So you might relate to this more than I thought you would, because when I first started working, I remember how nervous I was, but that nervousness, dissipated over the years and years and years. When I got in my 20s, it was like, I can be in a conversation with somebody, talk to them, and somebody goes, fight, boom. I lost that feeling, and sometimes that feeling is what gets you, because everything that you learn, you don't clear your mind. Yeah. So I thought about this hard, because I realized, I was like, oh man, people are like, man, Rick, you just like go into action just like that. But I know I wasn't always like that. So I started to picking out like what made me like that, and how can I train other people to do that, and just to almost to lose that one feeling so they can do the right thing, because I think predators, they prey on, a sneak attack, and they prey on you getting nervous and just doing it, and they scramble in your mind. And then after the fact, that's when you're like, oh man, I should have ran. I should have did this. I should have, not everybody has it. People freeze.
Predators are very good at finding the weak, right?
Yeah.
Or, and not necessarily the physically weak. They find the people that aren't paying attention.
Mm-hmm. That's
right?
the iPhone.
Yes. Right. And I will agree with you that the club makes you learn how to always pay attention, so that when I'm talking to you on the screen right now, I still see my door over here.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm aware of the door, and if somebody's going to open the door, and I know it's just like my kids in the house with my wife, but you're still always seeing that. And even when you're teaching, like how to stand in a room, like it's so important how to stand in a room,
right.
And like, so that you can see the room. And fuck, man, I can remember once I got into one altercation where it was on, right? We were scrapping, and the next thing I know, like I had backed up, like I had a hold of this guy, and I was like pulling him out, and I had good control. But then there was a puddle of beer, bro, and boom, down I go, and like I pulled the mount, right? I was like, oh my god, because I had double unders and I was lifting him out, right? Like I was.
Right, and you slipped back.
And I stepped backwards, one step to avoid something, and then boom. And like, if you have double unders and you're falling, I was like, holy shit, I just pulled them out in a fucking street fight with no referee. Like, I was like, oh my God,
This guy didn't take the intro class.
Fuck, right? And dude, mount's a fucked situation in a fight.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mount. And you don't prepare for that. Look, that guy could have never mounted me if he tried in his life.
Right.
But here I was in an altercation, and you never know.
You never know. That's why you train positions. Yeah. You talk about training when you get older. A lot of my surgeries, my knee surgery and stuff, forced me to fight and learn from worse positions. Like my knee position, that's why I started that whole broken butterfly position, because I couldn't use my leg, but there was no way I was stopping jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
So that was, so I used to play, they make a joke in class. They say that I have a side mount bottom guard. because I let people pass, and I'm actually better from people on top of me, like I tap them, because it's just what I got used to. So I feel like my injuries were, like serendipitous because, it could either make you or break you, but I had to make the best out of it, and actually made my jiu-jitsu game stronger because I'm doing guards now that I probably would never ventured into, because it's like you tend to just do what you know sometimes, but jiu-jitsu teaches you otherwise if you learn it right.
It forces you, right? And look, it's always going to come back to defense, though, in my opinion, right? Yeah, like if you can defend, so like you could do your crazy side, because you know how to defend from side control.
Right, exactly.
Right? Like, I mean, I could, like, if I'm not in a tournament, I could sit like where, like when I say not in a tournament, like if you're in a tournament and you're down 3-0 and there's a minute left, you got to do something. You got to do something. You can't just sit there. Like you can't just sit there and hold on to the loss, right? So you take a risk, and sometimes you lose. Like you might even get finished, right?
Right.
Because of your risk taker. But like if you're just training and
hanging out,
I'll fucking sit there all day.
You got to. Yeah, you have to go. Well, even if you're in a tournament, let's say you're up on points, and the guy, you're still up. Now I have that's when when you're training for a tournament. When I'm training guys, I'll put them on and I'll say, all right, everybody get into the side mount or get in the guard. We'll say a guard because it's either you pass or you stay in, right? Right. So I was like, all right, you in the guard, you're up on points, you're down on points, go. And then I reverse it, and it's a different game plan. So that's how it is in tournaments, because it's strategy. Even though there should be some sort of strategy in the street, but your strategy should always be get the fuck out of there.
For sure. That's always the strategy, is get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. And I tell people, like, wow, people come up to me like, man, Rick, you won so many fights. I was like, nah, actually I won none. I said, you don't win fights. I said, get that out of your vocabulary right now. If I don't receive a check, a belt, or any kind of like accolade,
compensation.
I don't win anything. I don't win anything. I survive it. Even if I fight 5 guys and all 5 guys, blah, 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 all right, I survive that. Even though they go to the hospital, I come here. I survived that because it's not something, we don't wake up every day, or we'll say normal people don't wake up every day, walk out of the house and expect to get in a fight. This is where the attacker has the advantage, because the attacker wakes up, he goes, I'm getting somebody today. So they're already pre-planned. So which makes our job a little harder, because now we have to say, look, we don't want to be cynical. We don't want you to wake up and be nervous every day. But look, why do you buy car insurance? Do you want to get in a car accident?
No, nobody buys car insurance because they want to get in a car accident. They buy car insurance in the event they get in a car accident, they're covered and hopefully, not injured. It's exactly why we train self-defense, So you got a lot of people walking around there that claim to be fighters or claim to do jiu-jitsu, and, they're not paying health insurance right now. You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. Man, that was a really good way to look at it. I never looked at it like that. The attacker, when he's going to go do something that day, it's been on his mind for months, probably weeks.
Yeah.
Today's the day. Yeah.
He trains that every day. That's like his jiu-jitsu. He doesn't get anything, and then if he's getting away with it, it's even better. Unfortunately, we have bad people out there with bad intentions.
And you and I are just going to Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Right. We're just going to Whole Foods or whatever it is we're doing. There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that's that element, right?
Yeah.
It's that split second element.
And you and I, when we walk out, it's like, look, what are you, like 6'3", 6'4"?
I'm like 6'2", somewhere in there. 6'2",
6'3". I'm 6'4". I mean, we're pretty big, not intimidating, but we're intimidating, approachable, but maybe not. People might think once or twice about doing it to us, or they may not. I never put anything past anybody.
Right.
But think about somebody else that doesn't have that. They have to wake up. They're going to be, they really have to watch where they go. I know it's cliche to say, hey, man, don't go in dark alleys. But look, that's the deal, man. You're putting yourself in positions where you can get attacked. Not to say that it's anybody's fault. It's nobody's fault. That should never happen. But an attack can happen in church. So I'm not saying it can't happen in the event. But if you're going to parties where you think it's shady and you don't recognize it, or if you're going into a place and you can't assess the situation, if you don't have those skills, then your risk of getting attacked goes up a notch. So my thing is this, and I never tell people, like, look, if you ever get attacked, because I had my share. I've been followed home. I've seen it. I've been in the club business. I can actually, there's different foreshadowing that you can see when you're in that atmosphere. There's like something's going down. And for me, I can eradicate it quick, whether it's happening to me or happening to somebody else. people don't have those skills. People don't have those skills where they can say, oh, okay, something's going on here. People are oblivious. They're either on their phone. They think nothing's going to happen to them. It's like, man, you can't think that way. It's like I said, it's car insurance or health insurance, whatever you want to, however you want to look at it.
On this topic, what blows my mind is, man, I mean, when I was younger, I mean, everyone does dumb shit when they're younger, but now, yeah, I don't get, I'm always sober in public.
Yeah.
You know, I'm never like, I'll have like a beer or a glass of wine or two, you know what I mean? But like if any more than one, really, I don't do out, you know, like
see, I was never a big drinker. I'll just have wine. If I'm drinking, I'm like, yo, I'm in my house with my girl. That's it.
I'm home.
Yeah. I'll go on my roof. You know, I have a nice cigar and a glass of wine.
Yep. You know, like,
but, yeah, I don't like feeling that way. I'm a control freak from even before jiu-jitsu. I was a control freak. So I'm even more now.
Yeah, for sure. And I just don't understand the adult with responsibilities, wife, family, kids, business, who allows that to happen in public. You're putting yourself at such a risk, in my opinion.
Well, look, it goes to this. I think anybody who goes out there and look, whatever curricular activity you do, I'm not going to downplay anybody or what they do, and so their own prerogative. But when it takes place of you know, cognizance and you being aware or you going over it, you know, anything good can be taken too far.
Right.
So me personally, I know people want to escape, you know, and I understand that. We escape through jiu-jitsu. Sometimes I'll have, like I said, we'll have a glass of wine, a cigar, I escape a little bit. But life is good. You know, if you got to escape that much, you got to reevaluate your life.
You got to reevaluate your life. It's a great point.
Yeah, because if every day it's like, oh, this sucks. Because think about it. What we did, and I tell people all this time, we created a world within this bullshit world that we live in. There's a lot of issues and shit in this world. We got fucking racism. We got people beating up. We got predators. We got a bunch of bullshit going on in the world. We got money issues, whatever. We created this jiu-jitsu world where, like I said in the beginning, we're introduced to people from all walks of life. We all share a common bond. We enjoy ourselves when we go. That's why it's important for me and Phil and I, when you walk in, you're comfortable. I don't want a militant, hey, what are you doing? You know, I want people to be comfortable. Hey, how you doing? This and that, blah, blah, blah. Because this is the atmosphere I want to create. And this is the atmosphere I want to be in. Because when we walk out that door, guess what? We got to deal with all that bullshit again. We got to
crazy enough.
We got to pay taxes. So what I'm getting to is like some people, and I talk to people all the time, they married the wrong girl. They hate their job. You know, this and that. They can't get where they want. They're not where they want physically. You know, when you have all those things, they just want to escape. So, but that's not the answer. Like I said, I'm not badgering anybody who does that.
No, I get what you're saying.
If you're going to do that, you better be on your road to fixing your life, or at least getting. Look, not everybody's going to ever have 100%. I'm not saying, oh, you hate your job, quit it. Don't do that shit. Because we got a recession. We got a recession coming, so don't do that. But you got to even it out. You got to balance it out. If you hate your wife or you hate your husband, I mean, at least love your job.
You can't have everything going bad, right?
Right. You can't really have everything. But there are so many people around. They're like, oh, man, I got this. You got to, you know, the everyday problems, where that's why it's important for Phil and I. We really make it a pleasant place to be. It's almost like, you know, you walk into that place, it's like, man, you clear your mind of everything. And for me, even though we're the forefront of the business, I'm addicted just like everyone else. So are you.
Just to walk in the building. Yeah, man.
Walking in the building and I get on that mat, we train, man, you forget about everything. And, you know, you only live a good, if you're lucky, 75 to 80 years, if you're lucky. You know, I believe that. And you're going to waste your life traveling or in traffic, going to work, and not have not one thing to look forward that day. Just have one thing to look forward to. Look, we all have bad days. I'm not saying like, oh, my life, because I've had a rough road too. But the rough road that I had, I maneuvered, and I was able to learn from those rough roads. I knew what I wanted. I knew as soon as I found jiu-jitsu, I was like, I don't care. I didn't know I was going to make money doing or have a business doing it. I knew though that I'll work my ass off just so I can do that every day. I knew that. We had that at 16 years old. So we were lucky in that aspect. I was also lucky to have, you know, even though my mother and father weren't together, our father was very, you know, very strict with us, and he's a big reason why who we are today, along with my mother. They all had different jobs. My mother was very loving. My father was very strict. We had that balance again. And it's all how you come out of your experiences. I had things that I had experiences where I shouldn't even be alive right now. I was lucky. And I did, and I know, I'm not going to do that again. Or I'm going to,
You steer away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to.
Man,
you have to.
Just what you said there about what the academy can provide. Yeah. Right. Like it's such an important thing that we do that. All academy owners do that, right? Like we as the runners of the school, we put that aside, we put our egos aside, and we realize that we are here to serve. Right. We are here to serve the student, because we might be that only thing that they get to do during the day.
Absolutely.
That is amazing, because maybe they did do all the things you mentioned, right? They they married the wrong girl. Their job sucks. They're both, all of their kids have ADHD, and this is their hour every day. Yeah. So
yeah.
Cool, man.
And they start to give up, man. And I think it's easier to give up now. And we all know it's an easier out, but I think the world's got to concentrate on, well, think about it. We got internet, we got the Instagram. Everybody lives a fake life. You can reinvent yourself like that. And that in itself is depressing in themselves.
Sure, because it's not real.
And they know that.
Right.
They know that. So when you have all this facade and stuff like that, that builds up on you as you get older. And this is a shame. It's a shame. Like, you're a father. I'm a father. I always we have to guide our kids correctly. It's like, we know that's the new age, Instagram, social media, there's going to be internet stuff. Yeah. We can't keep them away from that, but our job at the home front is to make sure that they get the values that they need here, and the right values, as opposed to, there's two different kinds of influences you're going to give kids: the influence you get at the house and the influence that they're going to get on the street. We got to make sure we're teaching the right thing, and it outweighs that stuff. Not to say that they're not going to make stupid mistakes like we did.
Right. You can't control the street. You have no control over. Once they leave your house, it's kind of out of your hands. Yeah. You have to control what you can control.
Well, today you got to be a little more adamant about it, because we made mistakes. If they had cameras like they do now when I was a kid, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Bro, smartphone, what you would ask girls to do on that smartphone, exactly. Right? Like, that scares the fuck out of me. I got 2 boys. Like, it doesn't, like, I would have asked for everything, right? Yeah. I would have asked for everything. God forbid some girl's father sees that now, and then the next thing you know, you're a predator. It's like, whew. Yeah. And I understand maybe the girl's perspective too. Like, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing, Yeah. So, yeah, man, we'll all have to figure that out.
We're all winging it, by the way.
we're for sure winging coronavirus.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Shit. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on, Rick. Tell everyone where they can find you. Where can they find you on Instagram? You're very active there, your school, all that. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I'm on Instagram. My handle's Animal Black Belt. Then you can also go to Balance MMA on Instagram, and then Ricardo Migliarese is on Facebook.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on, Rick. I appreciate it, bro.
You're the man, bro. All right, man.
Homie.
Ciao.
Later.